I've picked apples off trees personally and eaten them.
That sounds really awesome if it's true.
Yeah, it was. What's up, guys? We're back.
What's up, bros?
Genesis 8, baby.
What's up? Genesis 8. I know. I wanted to keep
8.
going last time.
8. Yeah, you did. You wanted to power through. But the good thing is you're still wearing the same shirt. So the spirit of Genesis 7 and 8, you've got connected.
Same color shirt.
Oh, really? It's a different shirt?
I don't know. I just know it's the same color as yesterday.
Okay.
I won't
Are
say
you
it's a
wearing
different
red
shirt.
shorts? Are you doing the Superman for me?
No. Green
Oh.
shorts. Green
Oh.
shorts. This is the Green Lantern outfit.
Okay, nice. Love it.
So
My favorite are your purple shorts.
those are good shorts. Those are
Yeah.
good shorts.
My favorite is when you wear the purple shorts with your baggy green shirt and you have your shirt tucked in. That's my favorite.
That's good. I don't like to bring that. I don't want people to get tired of that outfit.
I know. You always leave me wanting more with that. That's
Thanks
fine.
for noticing, by the way. Thank you for
Yes.
noticing. That's very generous of you.
Yeah.
I like that shirt that you're wearing right now, by the way.
Thank you, sir. It's a wasp.
Really?
Interesting story. I've been fighting wasps lately. There's been more and more popping up around my house. And so I bought some extra wasp spray and I've been going after them.
Is there let's just say I wanted one of those shirts. Is there a place for me to get one of those?
Yeah, hit me up.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's a great shirt. Anyways,
Right.
do you want to kind of get into the mix here?
Yeah. So Genesis 8, we're going to be talking about Genesis 8 today. We talked about yesterday Genesis 7. They were on the ark and the flood. So now we're going to kind of be wrapping up kind of the time of the flood and just kind of seeing some very interesting things. So today is going to be toward the end of the flood type deal. So I'll go ahead and just kick us off with the first chapter. So the flood subsides, chapter 8, verse 1. But God remembered Noah and all the beasts and all the cattle that were with him in the ark. And God caused a wind to pass over the earth, and the water subsided. Also the fountains of the deep and the floodgates of the sky were closed, and the rain from the sky was restrained. The water receded steadily from the earth, and at the end of 150 days the water decreased. In the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, the ark rested upon the mountains of Ararat. The water decreased steadily until the 10th month, and the 10th month, on the first day of the month, the tops of the mountains became visible. So here we see that God, even though Noah was in this tough situation, a tough situation meaning that it wasn't, he was spared, right? So it was a blessing to be on the ark. But I try to imagine being Noah and the other 7 people that were on the ark. It appears he was in the ark a long time. And so imagine of being in that situation where you're you're just at sea in this boat for an extended period of time. And then also, one of the things we already covered yesterday, I appreciate how it talks about, and at the end of 150 days in the 7th month, 17th day, things like that. That's so specific because this is history, right? This isn't a fable. This isn't a little story to teach people not to do bad things. This is history. And so we see these very specific benchmarks of time. And also in verse 5, at the end of verse 5, the tops of the mountains became visible. I'd like to highlight real quick in Psalm 104, verses 6 through 8, when it's referring to the flood. It says, "You covered it with the deep as with a garment. The waters were standing above the mountains. At your rebuke they fled, at the sound of your thunder they hurried away. The mountains rose, the valleys sank to the place which you established for them. So we see here that the flood kind of did make changes to the geography of the world, of the earth. And so we think it appears that mountains got higher after the flood and valleys got deeper, and arguably the oceans got deeper, as well as I've heard some scholars say.
Mm.
Obviously, we don't have like this scientific geographic record, right? Super specific. I mean, he does say that it got changed, but we don't have like the super specifics of the heights and the depths and everything like that. But there is, I mean, all over. Yesterday we talked about how a lot of ancient cultures had their own record of a flood story, and science. So atheistic science also shows like marine life fossils that are found near the tops of mountains, and so that's just such an interesting thing that we see, and so that's explained by a worldwide flood. And there's
Mm.
lots of science, there's lots of secular science that supports this idea of a worldwide flood.
Mm. Yeah, I completely agree. And one of the things that I think would be really cool is for us to put some maybe links to some of those articles in the description box so that people can go and look into that themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe have a better explanation as to why that might have happened. If there was a worldwide flood, why would you find marine creatures in the fossil record on top of mountains?
Yeah.
And obviously, me and Justin come from the position that the Bible is true and we take it very literally. Other people might take the position that everything that's in a science book is true and take that very literally and take that as 100% fact. And what I mean by some of these science books is maybe old Earth, right? Billions of years old, or not a worldwide flood, or whatever you want to say. Here, with regards to fossils, were fossils the product of the flood, or were they product of billions of years, etc.? And so I think, at the very least, I think there's two different belief systems here. We need to establish that there's two different belief systems. You have a belief system of an old Earth, and you have a belief system of a young Earth. And I get it that while all the schools teach an old Earth ideology or methodology or belief system, I think it's super important to recognize that at the end of the day, that is a belief system, and there are a lot of things that are that we see as evidence in the world that maybe should at least put someone in doubt of that old Earth belief system. Maybe they still hold firm to it. Maybe they still believe it, but they should still recognize that at the end of the day, it is a belief system, right? It's like, I think a lot of people hold it up as like 1,000%, no question about it, billions of years. You're an idiot if you think otherwise. I think that's completely unfounded. Completely unfounded. I think you have to take into consideration that whenever you see evidence crop up into our world that maybe questions that, then you should at least be objective, at least objective in a way that, hey, this maybe this isn't 100% back. I still believe it, but I believe it. You know what I mean? You can't just throw it up as 100% fact, because as soon as you do that, I think you're losing objectivity. And isn't science based on aren't we told that science is 100% based on objectivity? Fact, truth. Isn't that what science is all about? And so if you see some of these other things that are counter to this 100% fact, well, maybe it's not 100% fact anymore. Maybe it's 99%, but it's not 100%. And so I'm just trying to create like kind of a level playing field that someone who believes in a 6,000-year-old Earth, or 6 to 10,000 years, whatever that number is, versus a multi-billions of years Earth, I'm just trying to put us all on the same level playing field.
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point, man, and that, I would phrase the things you were saying is everyone accepts their beliefs on faith. You and me have faith that the Bible's true. The atheists have faith that their scientific books are true, right? And
Right.
so I've had people say to me, "You believe in a book written by man?" Well, I mean, like all of us believe in books written by man. That's not. I mean, you're in the same boat as I am, and so you know I like it all has to do with the presupposition like you addressed. And I mean it's all your most advanced scientist, secular whatever, they will acknowledge that philosophy is at the foundation of all the sciences,
Mm,
right? You have that philosophical presupposition to even start with. um, and so it's important to recognize that. And so it's faith. And I've heard some really there's a famous comedian, a British comedian who does a lot of staunch atheist comments, and he was on a late night TV show once, and I guess the host was, I guess, he was a culturally Catholic guy, and so the atheist comedian was debating him and just said, well, if all if all the books in the world were burned up, were destroyed, the science books would all be recreated the exact same. And that was the dumbest argument I've ever heard. Like, whenever you're in a philosophical dialogue, like, no one on a high level uses a hypothetical like that. That's stupid, because the assumption is that God wouldn't prevent his work from being done. But you know what? Your hypotheticals haven't come true. God has preserved his word. So whatever hypothetical you want to create that God wasn't able to is not correct.
yeah, I completely agree. I think that's extremely illogical. Let me tell you, if you burn all the history books up and you find a dinosaur with blood cells in it, or blood vessels, or whatever it is, what is that going to tell you about the universe? You know, it's
Yep.
like
It's
they're
going to tell you that they didn't die 65 million years ago, is what it's going to tell you.
right, right,
Yeah.
right, right. I mean, there's
And,
little things like this that should put a little bit of doubt in your 1,000% sure scientific theory, right? Here's my problem: is some of these things that are coming up should be chipping away at this whole idea that the Earth is billions of years old. At least a little bit. Give it a little bit of credence. Don't just completely dismiss it and be like, oh, that's, uh, like the way I see this in different belief systems, I see it like a scale. Okay, and so let's just say atheism's over here and theism is over here. Well, yeah, maybe you think there's more evidence over here, so you're more inclined to believe that theism is untrue, right? That there's no God. But it's this scale still exists, right? And it's like it's not like this is like all the way like this. In my opinion, if you're gonna be objective about the situation, if you're an atheist, if you're gonna be objective, I think you at least have to put it like right here. Or on the other end, I'm over on this side, right? I'm in the camp that believes that the explanation for the universe is better explained by a creator as opposed to the earth coming out of nothing. It's coming to existence out of nothing. That's the explanation right now.
yeah. So yeah, it also I think that all the things you've said, Henry, completely relevant to this topic of how things came to be. And I want to add on just real quick that we're talking about the theory of evolution. Like, science is testable, measurable, repeatable, and evolution is none of those things. Um, and I think that sometimes we look, or society, and also it's not society overall. It's Western society.
It
The
is.
the
It's
the
Western
the other
society.
Yeah, the other, like, throughout history, people have not looked to science as answers. Science doesn't promise or give anything. Science is this field that we created, and it's helpful. Science is helpful. Science is a good thing. You know who created science in the very beginning? God. But um, science does not give us answers in the sense that it doesn't give us bigger answers like morality and things like that, right? Science doesn't provide those things. Science is helpful, but true science is testable, measurable, repeatable. So
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, we need to have a full episode on things that need to be explained by scientists,
I
right? It's
agree.
like in the West, everybody, man, they have a lot of questions for Christians, and they're great questions, and I'm happy to answer those.
I agree.
But I want you to answer some questions too every once in a while,
Right.
Hey, why don't you explain this? Why don't you explain why there's no fossil record showing a slow evolution from this type of creature to this type of creature. That doesn't exist. They can't find that. There's these huge leaps in explosion of different, creatures and whatnot. There's not like this slow evolution where it's like, okay, then they were tadpoles, and then they were this, and then they were that, and then they were that, and it's like this very slow. In fact, I guess it's Charles Darwin. He specifically believed that over time that this would be discovered. The fossil record would reveal a slow adaptation, evolution of different types of creatures. He believed that, and he thought just through the passage of time, as we had more sampling of the earth, that we would find that. We haven't found it. It's a huge hole in the standard narrative for evolution. Anyways, I know this is not an evolution episode, but
Yeah, but no, you brought up a great point about like everybody is on the hook to answer certain
yeah,
questions, not just Christians. And it's within, philosophers have developed four aspects of a worldview: origin, purpose, morality, and destiny. And everyone's worldview has to answer those questions. It's not just the Christians; everyone's worldview
I
has to.
agree. I agree. And I appreciate, by the way, I appreciate everybody's view on this, whether it be old Earth or young Earth. I'm not someone who wants to throw everyone else under the bus. I appreciate their view, and I love listening and hearing their viewpoints. And if for any reason that someone were to share a viewpoint and give me really strong evidence to why I'm clearly wrong and I come to that conclusion, I'm willing to change my viewpoint. I would ask that other people establish that same criteria for objectivity and searching for the truth. So, but I do really appreciate it, and I do love all people. The Bible calls us to love everybody, even people that are wrong.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So, yeah, you want to dig back into,
Let's do it. We are reading Genesis chapter 8 still, aren't we?
we are,
There is a modern day Mount Ararat in Turkey, and I've heard people say that that's where the ark is. There's people have snuck up there and found pieces of the ark, and so all that I don't know. I don't know. I do think it's possible, though. Remember, this is a long time ago when this history book was recorded, and so it is possible that the mountains of names have changed and that this is a different Mount Ararat. I don't know. I mean, for me, nothing hinges on is this the same Mount Ararat as the one in southern Turkey or wherever it is in Turkey, right? That doesn't mean a whole lot to me. If it is, cool. Either way, I don't need to go looking for the ark in the mountains. I believe this is true. But anyway, it's worth noting that some people do place the ark as potentially having landed in Turkey in the modern day Mount Ararat.
right. I would agree. The names of things have changed over the years. Um, if if I recall correctly, the United States wasn't always called the United States. I'm pretty sure it was called something else before we got here.
The New
Um,
World.
yeah, the New World. So I definitely think there's tons of examples of names changing over time. So yeah, I think that's quite definitely possible. Any other comments about this first paragraph?
No, I think we've tackled it really well.
Yeah,
Thoroughly.
yeah, we did.
Yeah.
All right, I'll read this next one. You read the first one, right?
Yep.
Okay. Then it came about at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made, and he sent out a raven, and it flew here and there until the water was dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove from him to see if the water was abated from the face of the land. But the dove found no resting place for the sole of her foot. So she returned to him into the ark, for the water was on the surface of all the earth. Then he put out his hand and took her and brought her into the ark to himself. So he waited yet another 7 days, and again he sent out the dove from the ark. The dove came to him toward evening, and behold, in her beak was a freshly picked olive leaf. So Noah knew that the earth was abated, the water was abated from the earth. Then he waited yet another 7 days and sent out the dove. But she did not return to him again. So there's a bunch of birds in this section of the
Yep.
paragraph.
Raven and dove.
What do they seem to be doing here?
Yeah. So we have the raven that flew out first. Then he sent the dove out. And so I heard, maybe there was a difference with a raven as a scavenger, right? So maybe the birds could have served different purposes or whatever in the certain phases or order that he sent them out. So I don't know. But either way, I mean, I'm sure that, Noah's getting, I'm sure that Noah's wondering, hey, when is this ark phase going to be over? And so he had the birds on the ark with him. And so, um, I'm just imagining being that bird, like, how far out do you fly,
Right.
and before make sure you have enough energy to get back just in case. But
I was thinking that as well. Like,
yeah,
birds have got to be pretty smart to. I wonder, like, it
yeah,
sounds like these birds were not dumb enough to fly too far to where they weren't too exhausted to get back. I think
yeah.
birds can also, like, when they're tired, they can float in the water too.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I mean, nature is. I mean, God made nature with just this instinctual survival, methods, and so yeah. No, I mean, birds are smart, and I mean, Noah used them skillfully, right? And so that's cool. We see that toward the end, the dove actually did come back with I think a fig branch or something in its beak, and so
olive leaf,
olive leaf, my bad. Olive leaf.
freshly picked.
Yep, freshly picked. So yeah, freshly picked olive leaf. So it showed that the water had subsided at least in certain areas, and that maybe it was getting closer to getting out of the arc time.
Oh, and this wasn't a dead plant either. Whatever olive tree that this came from. Are
Yep,
do trees grow on do olives grow on trees?
olives. I thought olives grew on like plants or like
They do grow on trees.
they do. Okay, cool.
Well, I just typed in olive tree and there's pictures coming up.
Okay. I don't know. I personally don't touch olives, so I don't know.
Yeah, they grow up on olives. You would know if you ate it. If you ate olives
Yeah.
though.
Well, I mean, I know that I
You
do
know
not.
the you know where the rest of your produce comes from.
I do. I know that oranges grow on trees and apples grow on trees. I've picked apples off trees personally, I'll have you know,
Mm.
and eaten them.
Mm. Really?
Yeah.
Where was this like?
This was in Mexico. Me and a whole bunch of kids were riding on the roof of a bus or like a van.
Uh,
We're going through this area where they had like apple orchards, and the apple orchards are so like big that the orchard trees are growing up over the road. So we're just like boom, 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 picking them and eating them. It was awesome.
really?
Yeah, it tasted good.
Wow.
Yep.
That sounds really awesome if it's true.
Yeah, yeah. It was.
Okay. Uh, uh, yeah.
I've had a moment with a bird though, and it was biblical. So check this out. One time, so there's this book. Um, it's called The Disciples Cross, Master Life. So Master Life, Disciples Cross, and it's
Mm.
like this cool. It's like a growing growing in your faith, Christian faith book. And so I remember that I was super faithful. This was years ago. So I was doing my book every day and I brought it to work and I would do it during lunch. And so I went to we used to work downtown and there was this opening area that was away from all the restaurants. And so I'd go out in this little opening area and I was doing, my book, my little quiet time or whatever. And I was writing and this bird came and landed right beside me. And he looked at me. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is awesome. Like, right, I'm going to become friends with this bird. He looked at me and I was like, what? Like, he's going to be my friend. This is crazy. And then he looked and there was this giant insect like near my feet. And so I was like, oh, like he's here, like he's super hungry, but he's like, it's a risk, right? Because I mean, I could be a predator or something. So he looked at me, he looked at the insect, and I just remember I wanted this moment to happen. So I didn't say anything or I didn't move. So he looked at me again and he hopped down by my feet, grabbed the insect, started eating it, and was looking. We were looking at each other's eyes while he was eating the bug, and then he flew away. But I thought it was a cool moment that I shared with that bird. Like me and that bird were friends. It was like it was like, hey, I forgot that word that you use when you're like not gonna fight somebody or whatever. But
Amicable,
yeah, we were like, it was like,
non-confrontational,
yeah. But anyway, so anyway, we had that moment. I thought it was cool. I had a moment with a bird.
non-violent,
No, it's like that when you call like uncle or you call like you like you're not gonna fight. Anyway,
surrender.
no, no, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. So
That's it. All right, let's get out the thesaurus. We got to get to
yeah,
the bottom of this.
yeah. But me and that bird were friends.
You really don't know what this word is?
No, so it's like the word like truce. It's a truce, right? So it's like this
Mm.
truce, like, hey, we're not gonna have any kind of issues right now. It's a truce. So anyway,
So it wasn't like a lot of. It was like this. It wasn't like this.
right. I mean, so I wasn't concerned about anything. Obviously, birds don't come hang out with people, right? Because they're trying to be careful. But it was like this bug was worth the risk for him to take, and it was enjoyable to me to like hang out with that bird because he landed right next to me, dude. Like I'm sitting on this step and he landed right next to me and like looked up at me. And I'm like, yeah, dude, we could be friends. Anyway, it's this really cool moment with this bird.
Very cool.
Yeah. But I want to hear more of your thoughts, man. Any other thoughts about the birds and
No,
no.
you nailed it. You really nailed that. You
No.
you really extracted a lot of data out of that paragraph.
Yeah.
Good job.
No, not really. Yeah. No, I mean not you. I didn't have an Excel spreadsheet about birds and olives and all that kind of stuff, but I just hit the high points. So,
I
all right, we ready to pick back up in verse 13?
think I'm ready. All right,
Okay, all right.
go ahead.
Now it came about in the 601st year, in the first month, on the first of the month, the water was dried up from the earth. Then Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked, and behold, the surface of the ground was dried up. And the second month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth was dry. Then God spoke to Noah, saying, Go out of the ark, you and your wife, and your sons' wives with you. Bring out with every living thing of all flesh that is with you, birds and animals and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, that they may breed abundantly on the earth. Be fruitful and multiply on the earth. So Noah went out, and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives with him, every beast, every creeping thing, and every bird, everything that moves on the earth, went out by their families from the ark.
Yeah.
So now, I like this one. So Noah, even though I'm sure he's got to have a lot of anticipation to get off the ark, we see Noah as a man of faith waited until God spoke to him and said, Go out of the ark. Then that's when Noah went out, only after God told him.
I completely agree. God spoke to Noah saying, Go out of the ark. And then verse 18, so Noah went out. And yeah, that's pretty incredible, right? You know, it doesn't sound like it specifically says that this ark was resting on top of Mount Ararat, and they might have been eager to get out of a big, potentially smelly boat that they've been in for the last very long time, around 12 months. And instead, Noah ended up waiting for God to give him the go ahead. And yeah, I think there's an excellent application to be taken from that. So couldn't agree more. Okay, cool. Do you want to read this next section?
Yeah. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and took of every clean animal and of every clean bird, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. The Lord smelled the soothing aroma, and the Lord said to himself, I will never again curse the ground on account of man. For the intent of man's heart is evil from his youth, and I will never again destroy every living thing as I have done. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. So we see that the first thing Noah does is make an offering, make a burnt offering to the Lord.
Right.
So just in Noah's, we see Noah's gratefulness and appreciation, right? His attitude toward God in this action.
And as you mentioned in a previous episode, that the reason why Noah might take extra clean animals is so that he can make a burnt offering. You see here that this burnt offering was made of clean animals and not of unclean animals. There seems to also be a covenant that God's making here as well. Is that correct?
That is, but I feel like the whole bunch of covenant language is actually made in chapter 9.
I
So
agree.
I want to push you off for one more chapter about your covenant talk.
Right. So God says, we'll give him a little bit of a teaser to that. Then the Lord said to himself, I will never again curse the ground on account of man. I will never again destroy every living thing as I have done. So, in terms of a worldwide catastrophe implemented by God, it seems like God's saying that's never going to happen. Obviously, I will also mention here, for the intent of man's heart is evil from the youth. You and me have had long discussions about original sin, and so this idea of the intent of man's heart is evil from his youth. This might be a verse that might back up this whole idea of original sin, that from Adam came sin, and when Adam and Eve sinned, sin penetrated their DNA, and they gave birth to
Little sinners.
that's right, little sinners that were born into sin.
Yep. And that's why the Bible says there was no one perfect but God, and so we are all born as sinners,
Right.
and we need Christ as our Savior.
Right.
And we do struggle against the temptations of the flesh, and struggle with sin, and so Christ is the solution to those things.
Right.
He's the only solution to those things.
Right. So yeah, and then it looks like there's a little poem here as well. Anyways, I really enjoyed reading chapter 8 with you today. It looks like
I agree. It was good.
we went over a lot. We went over this from the very beginning of this chapter. We learned that how God ultimately receded the waters, and how the water receded. What process was the water receded? How the tops of the mountains were seen, and how the water receded gradually, and Noah sends out these birds to go check on where there might be dry ground.
Yeah, and this is a totally different world now, right? I mean, this is Noah finally gets off the ark, and the old world had been flooded and destroyed, and now it's started over.
That's right.
So.
Then Noah waits until God commands him to get off the ark.
Yep.
They get off the ark. Noah puts in does a burnt offering to the Lord.
Yep.
With clean animals. And then God says, "I'll never again destroy every living thing as I've done."
Yep.
Anyways, really interesting stuff. With that said, really enjoyed this. Looking forward to chapter 9. Hope you have a really great day. And bros, let's keep powering through this Bible study. Let's keep getting in the mix every single day. Feel free to read ahead. But we're already Genesis 1 through 8. I'm really excited. We're powering through the Bible, and we're powering through it in a way in which we're really learning.
Yeah, I
This
agree.
isn't like a speed read, right? This is kind of a slow and steady. Before you know it, you will have read the whole Bible.
Yep.
And you'll know it really in depth. So
I agree.
thank you for joining us today, bros, and I hope you have a brotastic bro day.
Yeah, broski.
Okay, peace out.
See yas.
See you.